struggles. So the question is, going straight into this, knowing that 100% of us die, knowing that our health is an issue we deal with even as Christians, we have to ask ourselves, does our salvation impact us in any way? And the truth is, yes, it does. I have no doubt, and I say this with all confidence, that our faith makes a difference, because God does make a difference with his children. One is that we have grace, and grace changes everything. I know Grace Resources is, I know that Eva set this up to extend God's grace to us in different forms, in knowledge, in experience, in sharing with each other. But grace, you can't talk about Christianity, you can't talk about our faith without talking about grace. So one of the things that impacts our health is we have grace, and it changes everything. When we talk about grace, some people just see the part of grace that delivers us from the penalty of sin, the grace that says that we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, in accordance with the riches of God's grace, like Ephesians 1:7 says. But grace is much more than that. Grace also delivers us from the power of sin, not just the penalty. The Bible says in the book of Titus 2:11-12, that for the grace of God has appeared to all men, that it teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-controlled lives. So this tells me that grace is not just available to grant me a pardon, in the sight of God, but grace empowers me to say no to sin. And so grace delivers us from the power of sin, but also grace, the third part I wanted to bring out is grace provides abilities beyond our natural capabilities. Yes, health is something natural, but God gives grace that provides us the ability to live beyond our natural capabilities. In 2 Corinthians 2:19, he says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You can also see from the example of Daniel and his friends that they ate vegetables, yet they looked better than those who ate from all the king's luxuries and the delicious delicacies they had. Daniel, because he had grace, the Bible says that he and his friends, they looked better, well-fed, fresher than the other people who were serving the king at that time in Babylon. And you can see the Israelites in the desert. God reminded them in the book of Deuteronomy. He said, have you noticed that all through your journey, your sandals did not wear out? And many more examples. This is just to show us that when grace comes in, everything changes. We live beyond the natural tendencies, our natural predisposition, our natural exposures. And God is the one that gives us that grace. So it does make a difference. Number two, we need to understand that general statistics do not have to apply to believers. And this is very true. The Bible says God desires good health for his children. 3 John 1:2. It says, "Dear friends, I pray that you enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul prospers." Exodus 23:25 says, "Worship the Lord your God, and his blessing will be on your food and your water, and he'll take away sickness from amongst you." So God does make a difference. Even when God faced Pharaoh and the Egyptians with his plagues, the Bible says that he made a distinction between his own children and the Egyptians. So God does make a difference. So, some of us, when we watch the news, you hear, well, 1 in 2 people will suffer from these, or 1 in 3 people will suffer. And that's information, and that's true statistics, but the truth is that, while I share some of the statistics we have, we need to understand, this is very important to know, that we are not subject to statistics. We are not just subject to time and chance. The Bible says all things work together for the good of those who love God. And we need to know that and embrace that with faith. Number 3, provision for healing and supernatural abilities, even in sickness. If we do find ourselves sick, God will glorify his name because he will give us all that we need. He will heal us. The Bible says in Philippians 4:13, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I will heal them, and they will enjoy abundant peace and security," from Jeremiah 33:6. So God does bring healing to his children. So does it make a difference? Yes, it does. We have grace. General statistics don't apply to us. We have provisions for healing and supernatural abilities in sickness. And number 4, we have hope beyond the grave. I learned this story about someone who had been sick for a long time, and Christians were praying for him, and while, things still went downhill and he was dying, and he said, you know what, you guys have tried so much, you've prayed for me, you've believed God for me, God must have a reason why I'm still here. But do you know what? Either way, I win. So whether I die in this sickness or I live through this sickness, either way, I still win. And the reason is because we have hope beyond the grave. Isaiah 65:17 says, behold, I'll create a new earth. In keeping with his promise, 2 Peter 3:13, we look forward to a new heaven and a new earth. God promises this us in the New Testament. In Revelations, John said, behold, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. So we have hope beyond the grave, and that makes a difference. So what does that do for me? It means I don't have to be afraid. If there is a pandemic going around, I can trust God to make a difference. If, God forbid, I do get sick, I can trust him for healing and supernatural abilities. And in the worst case scenario, whatever happens, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that my life is beyond the grave. There is life for me beyond the grave. So this makes a difference in how we perceive these things.